Toy Story 3, awesome. They really should have made a Toy Story 4, but that's all I'm saying.
Disney.
I just appreciate this reference too, because Toy Story 3 at this point came out like
that year.
It was a big deal too. So not a super dated reference though, because I feel like everybody that's probably listening to this podcast now has seen Toy Story 3 and probably was at least old enough to remember it coming out at the time and how big of a deal it was. So
and then the next episode, the ending to the next episode is Dr. Bauer talking about Inception, which also came around at that time.
Yeah, that was the summer. That was summer 2010.
Yeah, that was honestly like a big year for movies.
Yeah,
that was time for movies. And TV.
That was okay. So best year of the movies. Best movie of the century so far, which is Social Network, that came out 2010. Inception, Toy Story 3.
Is Social Network really that good?
Social Network works, man.
I thought it was earlier than that.
I want to say now I'm double. Let's see. Social Network. So what do you guess? I'm guessing 2010. Ethan's.
I was gonna say like
now.
2008, but I guess that's maybe what I'm thinking when Facebook actually like kind of became a thing. But let's see.
I didn't realize that Facebook used to be. I mean, maybe if I watched the movie, I know this, but it used to be like just a college thing.
Yeah, just for Harvard students.
It is 2010.
So, but yeah, that was a good year for like Oscar potential movies, and let's see. Okay.
But Caleb and I had this conversation yesterday, like Disney making Toy Story 4, Disney making Lightyear, Disney
allowing Phase 4.
But like it's just I don't know. I'm not going to hop on the Disney hate train because I know it's not a hot take. But we were talking yesterday about the Knights of Ren in Star Wars.
Yes.
Because he was showing me the Skywalker saga because he just had it on his Xbox. And he's like, dude, what are you talking about? The Knights of Ren are so cool. They look so cool. It's like, yeah, they look cool to sell toys, right? Like I remember going to Target and they had however many Knights of Ren there are. Like you could just buy a set and like that makes me so mad. Like, no, they're lame. Because you know what happens? Kylo Ren slaughters them all in like 2 minutes in The Rise of Skywalker. Like, no, they're not cool. I'm not going to simp over their appearance.
Or like
they're there to sell toys.
Right,
Captain Phasma.
The green bowl in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Like literally, that's what like if you buy action figures from that movie, like a part of that bowl it comes in each action figure, so you can assemble the green. I don't even know what his name is. Like he was in the movie and he had like 2 lines of dialogue, and then he was like, like there. And it's like, what point of like what does he serve, right? Yeah. Like besides just a 10-year-old's like, that's a cow, but it's green. I want it, right? So no, Toy Story 4 can burn. Toy Story 4 can burn in the incinerator from Toy Story 3. Honestly, if I knew that they were not going to end the franchise, then. I'm not saying that I wanted the toys to then die in the incinerator, but if that would have like conclusively ended the series there, I'm just saying.
Have you guys seen the video of the guy that like edits it so that it just like cuts out to black right after like in the incinerator scene, and he shows it to his mom? He like somehow edits it so she thinks that that's just the end of the movie. Like it fades to black as they're in the incinerator about to slide down.
That's awesome.
That's awful.
It's such a funny video.
Yeah.
Even like the next day, he's still like playing it off. Like everybody else is playing it off too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And he finally reveals it to her or something like that. And she's like, I hate you.
I don't blame.
I hate you.
I hate you.
What if like the incinerator scene in Toy Story 3 is like, it's like they're all like walking it right. They're like, we're about to die. All this like they hold hands, but then like somebody like a human like walks in, and so they're like
they have to play dead.
Yeah, they play dead for one like like look at you like everybody dead. Like so they're just they have to just play dead to their deaths.
But and then there's like a single tear.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Or do you think they would have just not played dead if there was a human that walked by?
No, I hope but that's the beauty of like there's toys are toys. Like they do their part.
Dang,
like,
Jonathan, you're making me wild.
And like what's her name? Like the
Jessie?
The
Potato Head?
The girl, like the Barbie.
Bo Peep?
Bo Peep. Just like her face like crying and melting. So it's like you can't tell what it's like.
My gosh.
Oh gosh.
Jeez.
Well, Jonathan, you just made it worse in a good way. I'm gonna need to go to therapy after that one. But yeah, you know what? I take it back. I'm glad that the voice didn't die in the incinerator. I'm just gonna pretend that Toy Story 4 is not canon, just like I pretend that all the Star Wars sequels aren't canon. So
exactly.
Yep. If we don't, then the communists win.
Isn't that so sad that like Star Wars like just like
went downhill.
Just got like stabbed itself in the stomach.
Right, it's just like there's nothing sacred anymore.
Oh,
like they're making a
true.
fifth Indiana Jones. They're making they want to remake
Marvel's
kind of
gone down the toilet. I never thought that would happen, but they've just
Marvel is dog water now. It's so
and I'm hoping that it doesn't stay that way. I'm hoping that they're just trying to find their footing with not having a bunch of like on screen, because I'm excited about like Fantastic Four and Daredevil. Like there are still characters that you can use. Like Spider-Man's reset. Like so like. But guys, this isn't a Disney hate podcast yet. Let's go. Let's kind of swing it back around. I would never thought I'd live to see the day where I'm the one who gets back on track. But
Britta's marrying Jeffrey Winger. So one of our really good friends, Jason, his wife is really into the Cranberries, which is like a '90s band, and I love the Cranberries, bro. Like, and like this.
Rest in peace, Dolores.
Ooh.
This the parody they're doing of like
Flinger
is I love this.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Every time I hear that song,
I'm such a fool for you. You got me wrapped around your finger.
Well, I need to listen to more Cranberries then.
Bro,
you have to. Yeah. Do you have to let it linger?
Yeah. So I loved that little reference there. So that was my top 2 A+ scenes. What do you guys got?
I like Starburns adding a hat, just like that whole exchange with Abed. Like, oh, that's even easier. Or no, I guess Jeff asks Abed what's going on. He's like, oh yeah, Starburns
relied too much
on his Star-shaped Shyburn, so he added a hat so he could still be popular and relevant. Yeah,
and that's kind of sad. I feel like that's a real thing that happens to people.
Oh, for sure.
Like think about how a lot of like celebrities are like they get famous, or just think of like any YouTube sensation, like Mason Ramsey, the yodeling Walmart kid. Like that was his relevance, and so he can't rely on being the yodeling kid forever. So he has to actually like add stuff onto it.
I feel like I saw that in high school, where like kids that like were popular for something. Like I remember one kid, he could like turn his ankle like around. Like,
see, I can do that. That's not impressive.
But like it was his thing. Like that was that was Jimmy's thing. And so like, but I remember by like sophomore year, everyone had kind of seen it,
right?
And so he started playing football and like just trying to like do something
right. It's like whenever a 7-year-old is trying to be around a bunch of adults and the 7-year-old is like just saying stuff that obviously they have no idea what they're talking about, and they say something that's like kind of funny, and so they could try to like carry the energy, like, hey, watch this, okay, now watch this. And so it's like you just don't give that kid energy at all. Like if people were to not talk to Starburns, like, would he just not have Starburns anymore?
He'd literally actually fade away into stardust.
He would just be another meth cook.
Yeah.
He does have 2 girls around, he's
I know, right?
Him, so
I know he's
apparently he's pulling the ladies. Like.
In the first couple of seasons, he's actually like relatively like an actual person.
Yeah.
And then it gets to the whole like, cat car and all that stuff. Fake death.
Yeah. So I feel like this episode has like 3 keystone scenes. So first one is Jeff and Britta, and after Jeff realizes that like he needs to,
like in the hallway.
No,
or
like
you mean
I'm talking about so after
in the cafeteria.
After the cafeteria, when Britta does the I'm high on my own drama.
Yeah.
And Annie makes Jeff think like, oh, I just need to play her game and like try to get even with her. So then he goes into Anthropology and confesses his love for Britta.
Right.
And then they are like, oh, I love you more than anything in the world. And they start like making out really weirdly. And there's that shot where like their faces get closer as you see Annie's face.
Yeah, I thought that was a great cinematic shot.
Great cinematic shot. Yeah, just a great scene.
It doesn't focus in on them until they're kissing.
Yeah,
and it's Annie's focus.
Yeah,
and man, I know that we crap on Jeff for being 40 and Annie being 18, but I really do feel bad for her this episode.
Yeah,
like
she's getting like false hope.
Yeah. Which I guess I know. I don't know. I'll get to my thoughts on that. You can keep going on your A+ stuff.
Right. So that's my first keystone scene. Mm-hmm. Second keystone scene is the study room argument scene.
Oh yeah.
Afterwards, whenever you find out that Jeff kissed Annie and
Troy's writing down all of.
Old white man says
you didn't win that day.
Yeah.
You don't kiss one or eat one and lick another.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said jelly donuts too.
Yeah.
Not cookies. Not like.
There's 2 jelly donuts, Jeff. Yeah. You don't lick one and eat another. Yeah.
Nobody objects to us to being referred to as donuts. No one.
That's a great scene. Just the arguments and the back and forth banter, I think. And then the third keystone scene is the final scene in the class, or not final scene, but like the penultimate scene in the class when Jeff goes up and gives a speech about like respect. I respect you.
That's why you fail. It's even like the Betty White voice, you know?
Yeah, that's a great scene too. What do you got, Christian?
I don't know. I thought that like Britta, I don't know. I feel for Britta in this episode. You know, I feel like she shouldn't play into you know, the Jeff hate, but that's not nowhere near the same level as Jeff just being a dick. So I like the little exchange where Jeff's like, not to be a tool or anything, but you know, you embarrassed me that day too. And then Britta's like, well, I'd hate to be around whenever you do mean to be a tool. And it's like, yeah, honestly, like it's the whole like false equivalency of like Jeff doesn't really have a leg to stand on. Like I know that he didn't do anything wrong. Like he was never like obligated to love Britta or Slater, which by the way, we never see Slater again. Yeah. So that's again another reason why I hate the season finale of season 1. But I just thought that was a funny line that I feel like Britta actually kind of does well. And then she also plays into the high on my own drama, because I do kind of like, I get it. Like Britta's not really popular, and that's kind of her whole shtick. So like, it must feel nice to have people who like her.
Yeah.
And they're like,
I think it's understandable
because
for sure.
It's good from experience. Like it's nice to have people who sympathize with you after like a rejection, which is what Britta's going through. Like, it's nice to know that like you have people on your side.
Yeah.
Which I also know it's also like to be on the other side of like everybody, you know, a girl's friends all think that you're a jerk, and it's like, no, you weren't there for it. You don't get to hate me.
Yeah.
Because you're not unique being the like, oh, but you better not hurt my friend or I'll come visit you at 10 o'clock at night with a tire iron. Like everybody has that one friend who like is a psycho, you know, or that's like their personalities. They want to be psycho. So anyway, I'm all over the place today. But
I think about that too, like added to like the idea of like, it's nice to have people on your side.
Yeah.
I think about it even in the simpler way of like, I remember when I tell a joke in high school or like whatever, when like,
and then people would just like move on.
No, a lot of people would laugh or like, oh, Jonathan, that was really funny. Or like, I could like lead the class and stuff like that. And like people like gave me attention.
Right.
And, like, you know, maybe.
Please give me attention. Please give me attention. See, mine is the opposite. Whenever you're in a group of people and you say something and then the rest of the group like moves on, but there's one person who's like, oh yeah. And they actually try to engage with you. I'm like, hey, I appreciate that. Thank you.
That is nice.
But yeah. I love whenever Chang is, you find an 8th loser for your group of losers. And Jeff's like, I think you took the class because you want to be in the group, but you have too much pride to ask. And Chang is like, would someone with too much pride do this? And he like has his bank notifications and it's like, your current balance is $23.20. And Chang is like, consider yourself changed. And I'm like, honestly, dude, like I've been there where like your bank account's in like single digits, like and just the fact that he just like plays it off, and I feel like he's going over. Like, I don't have enough pride. I don't have too much pride. Like, I don't have any pride at all.
Yeah.
Plus, like, honestly, okay, I really feel bad for Chang, like in this part of season 2. Like, once he goes like crazy off the rails, like then like obviously he's a villain. But like, why didn't the group just? And I'll get to that later too. Like, he didn't do anything wrong. Like, okay, like at this point, he's still senior Chang who got fired. Mm-hmm. So like, he's still like a relatively normal person, but. In the argument scene in the study room, there are a couple of good points. One of them is Britta going off on Annie for like stealing her guys. Like first it was Vaughn and then Jeff. Now if I better not smile at that wall outlet or you'll fry your tongue off. I'm like that's a funny little observational joke. And then Annie's punch on Jeff was very cathartic for me. Like Jeff is just the worst in this episode.
And good sound design.
And good sound design, right?
Yeah.
One of my nitpicks that I'm gonna jump ahead for is I hate his mouth. It looks so gross. It doesn't look like he got punched in the face. It looks like he has like, it looks like he had a zip that he popped and then it started bleeding and then it like got really, you're like, it doesn't, you know what I'm talking about?
I see.
I hate it. I like, and it distracts me every time and I hate it. But yeah, those are my A+ for leading the class. I didn't really have one. Like, I don't think anybody really like Annie didn't do anything wrong, but she didn't like stand out for me.
Yeah.
Jeff flunked the class. Okay. I was so mad. Just Jeff. The hallway scene where like, Britta goes off and all the girls like her and he's like, I don't like where that's going. And then Annie talks to him and still likes him. And he's like, I don't like where that's going. I'm like, no, Jeff, I don't feel bad for you at all. Not because, like you rejected Britta, but you don't get to deny that Britta like feels bad about it now that it doesn't play into your power trip. You also don't really care about Annie liking you. You just don't want, like he says it, like, if people find out about it, I'm going to get tarred and feathered and put on one of those websites that you look up when you're buying a house. Like, he doesn't care about Annie. He just doesn't want to have a bad reputation on himself.
Yeah.
And so, like, the whole episode isn't about him trying to make things better and, like, make Britta less feel awkward. It's about him trying to restore his image. And so, like, Jeff, I'm not going to say it because it makes me really mad. Yeah.
No, honestly, though, like, get you a girl that looks at you like Annie looks like Jeff in this episode. Like,
the one about discussion.
Stop that. I checked the makeup mirror in this month's
national review. We technically French.
Oh gosh, no, but I think about that, like, just honestly, that's the magic of like film, is that like in that moment, like I'm falling in love with Annie. I'm like, gosh, Annie, like. Annie. It was like if you need a guy that acknowledges you, like,
well, yeah. And then there's whenever she's like, well, what if the girl that you deserve to be with was in front of you all along? Is like, I've been that guy before, so I know it's like,
oh gosh,
yeah.
Like, so yeah. There's just
I agree with you. I think Alison Brie nails this episode with the acting. That's why I have Annie leading class too, because you just see how much it almost seems like Alison Brie is like infatuated with Joel McHale. Like it kind of makes you think that, and you really start to be like, oh man, I'm creeped out by the fact that they kissed, but like I can see that she's really just like enamored with him. You know, she's just kind of like, for better or for worse, like obsessed with him. You know, and I think that's relatable for a lot of people whenever you have somebody you really like, and she's been thinking about him all summer probably.
Yeah. And I feel like her liking, I feel like Annie liking Jeff like is logical. Because like over season 1, they have multiple positive interactions.
Yeah.
You know, like there's like some background. Like Slater is saying that she still loves Jeff. Like that has no basis whatsoever. But like, even if it is kind of weird, again, because the age difference, like it makes sense why Annie would like Jeff, because they do have good chemistry on screen.
Right.
So yeah.
And like adding to that, like Jeff's low key wanted to kiss Annie since like the debate episode. Because when she kissed him, like for the debate, he like kind of lingered in, and so like it's always kind of been there. And so then like, oh, he gets what he wants, like he goes for it, and like, oh, well, I didn't want all this, like come on, bruv, like I don't know, I'm not gonna.
Do you have any extra credit for this episode, Jonathan? Any little things that you noticed, or any little trivia bits?
So like Donald Glover, there was a rumor, and he actually voiced Miles Morales in, I think, Spectacular Spider-Man, the TV show.
Spectacular Spider-Man.
Okay, if you weren't going to do it, I was going to do it, because it has a bomb.
Oh yeah.
What's it called? Theme song.
You
can leave them over heads. But yeah, so he voiced Miles Morales in that show. He was in Spider-Man Homecoming
as Prowler.
Thank you. And then but yeah, there was a rumor for a long time that he was going to be a live action like Spider-Man.
So why have this? I mean, that's honestly, we already hopped on the Marvel hate train. So, you know, Disney, if you're trying to turn Marvel around, just have a Prowler movie. You know, that'll fix everything.
Yeah.
But anyway, keep going.
Cool. No, but yeah. So that was like my one piece. Like when he woke up with the in the Spider-Man pajamas. That's kind of what I thought about for that.
Yeah. So I noticed this. I actually watched this episode 3 different times before we did this, because we went on a hiatus, and I thought we were gonna start recording, and then we had some false starts. That's okay. So I watched a couple times
today,
but I was the second time I watched it, I did notice that in the Anthropology scene, when we meet Dr. Bauer, Betty White, or actually in all the scenes in the Anthropology classroom, on the chalkboard behind her, there's something about locomotor types, like movement types. It's talking about like human vertical walking and knuckle walking. And like with the knuckle walking, it says chimps and Dean Pelton.
Yeah.
Nice little Easter egg. And then there also is a part that says, or something on the chalkboard that says dioramas. They better be cool.
Which is a joke that they make several times in the show. It's like, and there's going to be a diorama. And it was like, yeah.
Of course, this is the episode or the origin of gay.
Yeah.
Which, again, another community, going mainstream, And then I thought this was interesting. The old white man says the TV show joke that Pierce makes at the end is a reference to Bleep My Dad Says, which was a TV show that was on CBS at that time.
Oh, okay.
And that was on, it premiered the same night that this episode was on, like that show did. So they're kind of making a little dig at CBS.
So it's like intentional.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it's an intentional dig. Like,
that's
this show's on at the same time as us.
Another show that like lasted for 2 seasons too long, you know.
Yeah, William Shatner, I think, was the dad.
I
remember the.
I vaguely remember. Yeah,
I'm looking that up.
Because then there was a show called Dads, and there's a show called Mom with Allison Janney, and yeah, it's just kind of that whole like throw some crap at the wall and see what sticks.
Basically,
yeah.
Good for the people though, getting their check real fast, like getting their check and get out.
Oh, for sure. I mean, William Shatner's not in it for the passion.
Yeah,
you know,
he slept through Boston Legal. Let's face it. I'm saying it.
Or American Psycho 2, All American Girl.
I never watched that.
Well, nobody did. Nobody knew it existed. It has Mila Kunis. See, I watched the Dead Meat YouTube channel, so I know all of the hidden horror movie stuff. But anyway, Ethan wrote this down. I thought it was really cool too. That Abed, whenever he reconnects with Shirley, at the start of this episode, he says, "I like your hair." And at first, it's just like, "Oh, that's kind of nice, Abed." Like you're thinking of something nice that you can say to Shirley. But then later on, whenever he's like thinking about spinning off, he asks Shirley to open a hair salon with him. Did you notice that?
Now that you say it, I remember.
Yeah. And at first, I was like, "Oh, that's kind of a weird thing. Is that racist that he thinks that all black women?" But as I watched it again, and he compliments her hair. I was like, "Oh, that's kind of fun." Also, whenever Jeff is in line with Chang, he's like, "Hey, can I have some? I think it's mac and cheese or whatever. He wants it." And the lunch lady is like, "Sorry, it looks like your food just walked out on you." But it's the same lunch lady that in season 1 was mute. So she hated Jeff so much that she learned how to talk. So
she got throat surgery, I think, right?
No,
that's why she couldn't talk in season
Pierce
1?
told. Oh, maybe.
Yeah, so she hands him a note, and he's like, "Well, throat surgery doesn't make you any less human," or something like that.
No, he said throat surgery would humanize you.
Oh,
so either they just forgot that the character was mute, or she actually took Pierce's device. So maybe she took Pierce's device canonly, but that's kind of fun because it's not consistent. I also just liked the whole but what is this? It's a wedding episode because that's a trope. Like I can't think of a TV show that I've watched where there hasn't been a wedding, like Frasier
or an eloping episode.
We elope at Friends, Big Bang Theory,
How Much Your
Mother, Full House, The
Office.
MASH, Parks and Rec.
Yeah,
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So it's just kind of funny that he's like, well, we're getting it out of the way now. Even Glow had one, and it's like
it's about wrestling in the 80s.
Right? Yeah,
you don't need that.
Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth, they had a wedding at WrestleMania 2. You know, so also okay. So my last little bit of trivia, like this is the second episode in the series so far where Starburns has a direct influence on the outcome with Jeff, because in this episode, he's like, "Aren't you sitting with your group?" It's after the group fight, and they're in Anthropology for the second day. It's like, "I thought you only got in there so you could bang the blonde one." And even though he just says it, that's what encourages Jeff to go give the speech.
It's also interesting to think he brings it back to the first episode, because I was like, that was
the whole reason,
point,
right? So it's crazy that if I had a nickel for every time Starburns led to the outcome of an episode,
Starburns the Jiminy Cricket of
the best
greatest thing.
The chicken one, because he's the piece that they don't have.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy that it's maybe reaching a little bit, but yeah.
Wish upon a star.
Yeah. So that was my extra credit. In terms of my closing thoughts, my thought on the episode, I've already given my thoughts on Jeff. He can. Yeah. Anyway, he's not a cool guy.
Jeff sucks.
But this was a good episode. I thought it was a good kind of change of pace. I kind of felt like I heard the show writers talking through Abed when he's like, "I want to get away from the cliche stuff," and it felt like an episode of Community. So I feel like I will give this a I'll give this, in terms of Dan Harmon properties, I'll give it a Solar Opposites out of Trevor Saves the Universe. It's pretty good episode. It's not Rick and Morty tier, but it's pretty good. So.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's a solid episode. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I kind of think it's an underappreciated episode in terms of there's not a crazy adventure in it, but there is some good group dynamics, and we are sorting through some leftover problems from season 1.
For sure.
I think it's handled in a good way where we don't just breeze past everything and just, we forgot about it. They deal with it. There's some healing involved, and we see them kind of reunite again. And I think that's a nice feel-good ending to an episode. Some good crazy Chang too. I agree with Christian. I don't like crazy Chang later on in the show because when he's the dictator, and it gets too. I don't know, out there. But
ridiculous.
At least early on, like, you have the scene in the end of this one where
he does the Gollum impression.
He does the Gollum, like
honestly, good Kim Jong.
Great acting.
Yeah.
No, they're my friends.
Yeah, it's great acting, and I think it's a nice just a nice little like wrench that the writers are throwing in here, to add kind of a antagonist, I guess, that we get early on. I'd say my only nitpick with the episode is just like the very first scene when we see like the Greendale 7 and it like shows them all waking up, getting ready for the first day of school. And it ends with Britta and it does this like weird zoom in shot where it like flies over the room and then lands on her face.
Yeah.
And for some reason that really annoyed me. That shot, every time I watch this episode, it feels really early 2000s ish.
Well, also, it's an expensive shot for no reason. Like,
yeah,
it
right.
Like, why did they have
that too? Like, the easier thing would be to just like have a static shot and then cut to her face, right? Just have a separate shot. Yeah, but yeah.
Let's get.
But I will say, I did appreciate them building that set where they're tracking a shot from
that's
cool. The Greendale.
Yeah,
and like just the little details that like Troy has the Spider-Man pajamas, and I love Pierce. I always love Pierce's painting above his bed. Yeah. Abed has the Nightmare on Elm Street poster above his bed. Jeff is like literally just like a bare room. It's like very like clean cut lawyer.
Yeah, that's great storytelling for showing and telling. Yeah,
absolutely. Mm-hmm. Well, and also it got me thinking, like looking at that young Pierce too. It's like, man, okay, Tom Cruise has like, Tom Cruise is ageless, but like he takes great care of himself. Like, man, Chevy Chase was such a stud. Like 80s Chevy Chase, man, such good looking, and just
he just got old.
Yeah, well, just got old and didn't take care of himself.
That's something, honestly, like. So before we started the podcast, we were kind of having a therapy session or something where I was talking about like just me and my life and what I'm doing. And I've really thought about that. Like I go to college events and like, a college athlete's parents look a lot different from a normal person's parents. Like a lot of times it's like the dad is like 6'2" and like really skinny. He still like cycles, and the mom that has like long blonde hair. Like most people aren't that. Like most people aren't athletes. And so on the one hand, I'm like, okay, did Chevy Chase really let himself go, or is that just sort of like the natural progression? All right, because I think of like Carrie Elways, Wesley from Princess Bride, like he's not thin anymore. Like he's gotten old, which is nothing against him. He's still attractive. Michael Keaton's gotten old, like he's balding. Like that's the whole premise of Birdman. Yeah, is that he was a superhero and now he's old. Like, so I get what you're saying though. Like it's kind of. It's hard to think that like Chevy Chase from National Lampoons to Pierce, like it seems like it's two different people. Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of why they put the painting over his bed of like, oh, that looks like somebody completely different, but it actually is a painting of him or a picture of him. Yeah. So I appreciated that cinematography, if not the shot of Britta. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely get that.
I feel that. I'd say like for me, I feel like I'd probably give like an 8 out of 10.
Closer to a 9 to the 7.
You're right.
Closer than a 9 to an 8.
Yeah, I would say something like that.
No, I said that one of our episodes. You're like a 7.3 is like so closer to the 7 than an 8. I meant to say closer to a 6 than an 8, but and then Ethan was like, yeah, that's what that means. Yeah. It'll kill you only if I die. Yeah, that's what killing you means. Sorry,
you're good. No, but yeah, I thought it was a great start to the season. I felt like this, and I want to know if you guys felt like this. It made me feel like if I didn't watch Community and I just watched this episode, I would definitely want to go back and like watch the first season. Like, did you feel like that as it was a good premiere in that sense that it like worked? Like, oh, I would like. Oh, what is this Jeff and Annie dynamic? Why, who,
Yeah, like if you were just somebody flipping through NBC and you saw the premiere, I would feel like
flipping through Sci-Fi Channel, Community Marathon for 9 hours.
Sharknado 7.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I feel like this is the perfect time for Community. Like they had hit their stride with their characters and their pacing. Like they've got nothing to prove. They're not trying too hard to bring people back in. Like I feel like after a while, a lot of network TV shows, like think about like the Big Bang Theory or like even How I Met Your Mother, like in the last season, like it becomes a parody of itself, and Community will become that eventually. But like after a while, you stop bring people in by the story tongue, and you just start bringing them in by like, oh, this is your comfort care. Sheldon's going to say the bazinga thing, and like, you know. But I feel like, yeah, this is a good, strong start to Community because this is a community episode. It's not just a sitcom episode.
Agreed.
Yeah. Word, felt, heard.
Yes.
So moving on to Accounting for Lawyers. A couple of my A+, the things that I really liked about the episode. I feel like Community a couple different times. You know, we talked about like the foosball, like the whole like, oh, Germany's the bad guys all the time. I love the Dean's like little side comment of like the winner of the Pop and Lockathon gets to annex Poland. Not really, it's an iTunes gift card. And like those two things are like completely different. Like one of them is so trivial, it's like the quintessential prize of like, oh, a gift card to something that you can't really even use versus like the worst chapter of like European history in the last like, 100 years. But I think one of my favorite lines or favorite interactions in the whole show is whenever Jeff walks in with Alan and Shirley's like, oh, you were late, something along those lines. And he's like, Shirley, if I killed a man as a Christian, would you forgive me? And then she's like, yeah, I would. And he's like, so either that man's life is worth less than your time or it's okay for me to be late. And I'm like, I really hate Jeff in this couple like stretch of episodes, but that's a really good like lawyer bit to use, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
But it makes sense at the same time. Like it sounds smart.
Because if he killed a man, right, murder's a sin. So as a Christian, Shirley is the stereotypical Christian, so she'd forgive him, right? So she'd forgive him for that. So he's saying, if I killed a man, you forgave me. Why wouldn't you forgive me for being late?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So either it's okay for me, it's like either my time is unforgivable, but me killing somebody is forgivable, which means that his life is worth less than this, or it's okay. I'm like, that's a fun way to say it. Like, you know what? Like, good on you, Jeff. I really like that. I thought it was smart. I love Annie's like realization, like the line delivery for Annie is like, narcotics. I know how to know Alan. Like, I don't know. That's a very Alison Brie line. I like that. And then Annie trying to do charades to spill her beans, and then Shirley just kind of grabs a notebook and is like, Alan got Jeff disbarred.
Yeah.
And then another line that I really liked was, Shirley, don't sue her. She's a stripper. Life sued her and she lost.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because you actually do see that character later, and you realize that Jeff was the lawyer who like defended her or something. And so I don't know. I thought it was a really clever line. So even if I didn't like a lot of the character motives in this episode, like I wasn't supposed to like Alan and I wasn't supposed to agree with Jeff. So like it was a good form of like, it reminds me of there's a picture on the internet of like a wrestling fan who wrote a sign is like, sir, I want you to know that we're not booing you because of your effective heel work. We're booing you because you're just awful. And I feel like there are two different reasons to not like a character in a show. One of them is because like they're doing a good job of you not liking them. The other is just that it doesn't make sense. I feel like this was the better part of that. Like they did good heel work.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I like Jeff's remark of is it me or is this campus getting more cartoonish every day as like people walk around with hats and hat club and stuff. It's a great, again, self-awareness of the show. And then that scene where Alan and Jeff walk in and meet the group, and I think Pierce says something like, oh yeah, I'm really good at what does he say, manipulation or something like that. I do manipulation seminars. I can hit me. You're bald. So are you. I'll kill you. I'm not bald. I'm sitting. Just like the delivery by Alan. Like, so are you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry.
I mean, this Abed and Troy and Annie like going to steal the email from Alan's computer.
Absolutely.
Everything from, I don't know, all I heard was suck.
Yeah.
You know, and then chloroforming janitor and then
twice
waking up and I don't understand. Why does she have a rag?
And the squealing that he does whenever he's
it's so like disturbing to watch, but it's hilarious because and that's one of those scenes that comes up a lot of times.
Right.
Like,
and then Troy trips over him whenever he runs out.
Which almost seems like probably probably seems improvised, like he didn't actually mean to trip over him.
Maybe. Or maybe the first time on a take they didn't keep, he did it, and Dan Howard's like, brilliant, keep doing it.
Yeah.
That's
actually, let's keep that.
That's a great scene. And I think honestly, jumping ahead here a little bit, Abed, Annie, and Troy, I think for me are just the best part of this episode. Is their little side like mission to go do that is the best part of the episode for me. I don't love this episode, but that's one of the. I mean, that's a top 10 community scene, I think, for sure, for me, is them in the office. And then I also just love the Pierce line his delivery again. Like when he comes up to them at the party, he's like, "Hey, did you know there's an island in Indonesia where you can hunt people?"
Yeah.
Which I feel like that's a joke that is kind of. I mean, it's the most dangerous game, right? It reminds me of Tom in Parks and Rec. I think that dude wants to hunt me.
Oh, let's see. I have this thing with Drew Carey where like I don't really get his popularity or like how he got because was he a stand-up comedian before?
And he did the Drew Carey show.
Okay, so because I know he was on Whose Line Was It Anyway,
right?
And then
Price is
99
Right.
started the Drew Carey show,
right?
So he was a stand-up comedian or something.
I think so.
I think he was stand. I don't know if he's stand-up. He was a comedic actor. For
Okay.
It's kind of. I mean, there are a lot of actors like that. Like, how did you get famous? Like,
but I loved the consistency of like the hole in the hand thing because like when he dropped like the grape through it, like I watched that multiple times. Like, oh wow, that's like good like CG that they did there. Like it's really good like VFX.
It's just such a random character trait for him to have.
Yeah.
Right.
Hole in my
hand. I know you all see it.
Yeah.
I ain't talking about behind my back.
Yeah, they really didn't need to have that.
No, not at all.
But
the little suction
funny.
cup sounds.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
When he shakes,
the other thing
that always
like,
cracks me up.
Yeah.
The suction cup sound. Yeah.
And Jeff just like cringes just a little bit, but not enough. Right.
Thank you.
I guess I'm not on the Drew Carey hate train. I like Drew Carey. I think
I
think it's a great cameo.
We used to watch Parks is Right, Parks and Rec. We used to watch Price is Right every day.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of one of those like,
I get it. Like he's not for everybody, and I don't think he's like the funniest guy in the world.
Yeah.
But I just think like he fits. I think this character well, and I think that's a good use of his like cameo appearance.
Well, that's what I'm not like oh burn Drew Carey to the ground. You know,
Boo this man.
Yeah. I was just like in my own mind like how did he get like maybe you guys knew like how did he get famous? How did he get here? But no. For leading the class, I had Jeff. This is obviously just kind of like a Jeff episode, so it's like it was and like we've already shared like a bunch of his like really good lines and stuff like that, so I won't have to reiterate. But yeah, Jeff's in every episode. He has the most work in this series, so he's earned it. He's earned this. What do you guys got?
See, I was sort of on the opposite. Maybe it's just because I want to be different from everybody else and not say the same thing. But I thought that Jeff. I feel like in the last 2 episodes, it's like I can see how he could lead the class, but I feel like most of the episode he's an awful person, and then he comes back around. Like in the first episode, he was unbearable. In this episode, I feel like it's kind of the same thing, where I understand that he's excited to hop back into the lawyer life because that's what he's at Greendale for, but he just treats his friends so badly. And like even whenever he's like, go win the Pop and Lockathon, because I don't care. Like you guys care and I don't. And I'm like, that's supposed to be a feel good moment, but I don't feel good about it, But I feel like I still don't have a lead in the class for this. I feel like Alan is my flunking the class. He can go screw off because he's the worst. He doesn't. So he shows up in 2 different episodes. He shows up later again in like season 5. It's the evil Abed, something like that.
Season 4 maybe. I don't remember.
But he doesn't ever get his comeuppance. Because even in that episode, whenever Jeff like listen here, like grabs him by the tie, like he turns right around and like turns Jeff into the board of directors or something like that. I'll have to watch that episode again. But he's just an awful guy. Like he doesn't really care about Jeff. He only invites him to the party to get what he wants, and then he lies to Jeff about it. I think Drew Carey's character really puts it at like, well, he's a spineless trust fund jagoff, and he's just the type of character that he is. I don't like the whole like I'm gonna put you in a headlock and I'm gonna touch you and grab you and just say really gross things that are supposed to be homosexual. Like that's not funny to me.
Just Packer from The Office,
right?
Exactly,
but not like. I feel like Packer is at least somewhat competent. I don't feel like Alan is. I feel like he's literally just the like. He's so despicable that you like he has no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
Packer's like the uncomfortable, unfunny uncle who thinks he's really cool.
Yeah,
but like
Alan's just the jack off. Like yeah.
But instead of being your uncle, it's a guy who's your peer, who's the same age as you. So it's like, okay, what are you doing? I don't really get you. Yeah,
I got Jeff leading the class. I mean, he's a little bit unlikable because the way he treats the class, but I think. As in terms of this episode, it's about him, and I think the show is still it's about all of them. But he's originally, at least the first, in the pilot, like the reason that we even have the show is he goes to Greendale to get, to make up for his fake law degree, and then everything just kind of waterfalls from there. This episode, seeing lawyer Jeff, I enjoy because I think it shows us a different side of him that we don't get in a lot of the other episodes. I mean, he's a great leader, and he's obviously like, he's becoming more of a, caring person, has, more of a family, thinks of them more as a family, but just like we get a little bit of him like going back to his old life, which I think is just really interesting because ultimately for Jeff's character arc, like we don't know what's going to happen. Like we assume he's going to get his degree and he's going to leave and go back to be a lawyer. And like, he's either going to stop, talking to the Greendale 7 or like, it's just life's going to be different, and that's kind of like a theme of obviously the later seasons and like season 6. But I think it's interesting. Like, oh yeah, we kind of forgot for a while that like Jeff is still like, he's trying to be a lawyer again. Like there is still that realization of like, there is life outside Greendale. There is still some kind of decision Jeff has to make at some point down the road. And so I think it's a good reminder just to have that. And even seeing him in his element at this lawyer party and him having to deal with his past, which was ugly. He was really salty about getting disbarred originally.
And I feel like he just wasn't a good person either.
Yeah, he's definitely become a better person since he's come to Greendale.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of question there. Is like, is Jeff going to go back to being like a jagoff, a douchebag as a lawyer? Is he going to be more honest because he's learned some more from the Greendale 7? Or is he going to just be like, you know what, screw it, I don't want to go be a lawyer?
I feel like though that concept is really interesting because I've noticed that like in my own life, there's some like principle or law or theory. It's like there's a character in Fantastic Beasts, so like it fills the space that it inhabits, right? So if it's a really big space, it gets really big. If it's really small, and I feel like that's kind of like your social setting. Like Jeff has become a cartoonish parody of himself at Greendale because that's what he's always around, and he sort of forgets that like there's this bigger world around him. And I feel like whenever I worked at Dollar General, like in 2019, like my whole world was I walked back and forth from my apartment to Dollar General, and I saw the same people every day and had the same coworkers, and so I felt like miserable because it was Dollar General, first of all, but like we went to Kansas City to a Royals game, and then I went back on campus when classes started, and I was like, I forgot that there was a world beyond Dollar General. Like I knew it existed, but all I saw was just that stuff. And so I guess maybe I was a little too harsh on Jeff then, that it probably does feel good for him to be back in his element, his lawyer element. Maybe he just sort of overcorrected a little bit compared to his Greendale group. But I don't know. I just always find that interesting that like your immediate surroundings sort of make up your reality sometimes. For sure. And so it like makes a conscious effort to break that.
Yeah.
You guys got extra credit? I didn't have any. Christian, do you have extra credit?
Yeah. So I noticed that whenever they chloroform the janitor, and then Abed is the one who has the idea to lay down and be like they're passed out. Okay. Whenever he's laying there, he's laying like completely straight, like, which is supposed to be like, oh, ha ha, Abed isn't really like another person. He's just like rigid. But if he thinks that his life is a movie or a TV show, wouldn't you expect him to be the most like overdramatic person who's passed out? Like, like he dresses up as Batman, right? And like crusades as Batman. He pretends to be a vampire whenever he's talking to girls. Like, I would expect him to like be like slumped over the table and be like, that was the worst, and like kind of play it off as like a secret agent movie or something like that.
Yeah.
So just a little thing I noticed. But also I think this is the most like important what if scenario, Marvel What If season 1 and 2. So Community season 2, or Community What If the group won the Pop and Walkathon and Chang got into the group? Because as I was like thinking about it, like Chang eventually sort of joins the group like in season, like after his Changnesia phase, like he just sort of like is a tag along. But like, what if he was part of like the Greendale 8? Because this is before he goes like absolutely crazy. This is before like, Dictator Chang and like it's a Palomino Chang. Like in season 3, he's just like crazy. In season 2, I think he's just sort of like eccentric. So like, what would it have looked like? And that really bothered me. Like Troy's whole like, well, that wasn't the deal. We lost. So I was like, dude, like you're a dick. Like obviously, like you can't appreciate that Chang was there for 5 hours. Like I get it. Yeah. Anyway. But also, do you notice that in his daydream of him joining the group, he's not just in the group, he's actually like the head of the group.
Yeah.
He's sitting in Jeff's seat. So maybe that's my what if scenario answer, is that Chang would have taken over the group. He doesn't want to just be in it. He wants to control it.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, you have the strongest personality of like the eight of them.
Right.
And so, yeah. Huh. Interesting.
Yep. So that was my extra credit. On my final thoughts, I was still frustrated with Alan. Like, he didn't get his comeuppance at all through the series. He's like the cowardly, conniving villain, sort of like the Ethelwald in season 1 of The Last Kingdom. Like, not in a good way. Like, he's a snilling villain. It's just frustrating. But
also, like, too, kind of thinking about, like, obviously the Community is a TV show. Like, it's a drama. It's a, you know, it's theater. Like, ultimately, it's interesting to think, like, oh, who are the villains in Community? And, like, Alan's one of the, you know, thinking like almost like a context of like a Marvel show or Marvel movie. Like, yeah, Alan is a villain in the show and never really pays for, you know, his sins ultimately, and like something like that. But that's just yeah.
Like, are you saying like not every villain can be Killmonger or Gore the God Butcher? Like, some villains have to be Yellow Jacket and they have to be the Dark Elf from Thor 2.
Well, also just the idea that, like, oh, they never like defeat him. You know what I mean? Like, we never watch him get disbarred or never, you know, anything like that.
But I feel like, I don't know, like, you never see City College get beat either. And I feel like some characters, like, they're just like one-offs. But like, sometimes you do build up how like despicable somebody is, and like, it's just really good to see them get their comeuppance, even if it's not realistic.
Yeah.
Because in real life, unfortunately, justice isn't always served. But like, yeah. Anyway, so that was really my only like frustration with the episode. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I thought it was clever. Like, I thought that the pacing and the story and the jokes worked. It just wasn't like one of those that like captured and held my attention the whole time, that I would watch over and over and over again. So I think that I would give it maybe a Whose Line with Aisha Taylor out of Price is Right. You know, is that the Mortal Kombat sound?
No, it's supposed to be the theme song of Price is Right. It's usually the guys over, come on down, like. I'm not sure if I'm doing it in the right key.
I don't think I even remember the Price is Right theme song. If I heard it, I would. Oh yeah.
Well, that's like the theme song of the.
Yeah.
But like when they're saying "come on down," like when somebody gets picked.
Yeah.
Robbie from California. Okay, go ahead.
Huh. I really thought you were doing Mortal Kombat. I mean, Aisha Taylor versus Drew Carey. I'd pick Aisha Taylor, but so yeah, it wasn't an awful. I still liked the new Whose Line. It just wasn't the standout. You know? So that's my rating.
I can give us like a 7 out of 10. It's not a bad episode. It's, you know, again, Troy, Abed, and Annie carry the episode, I think, really. Some good hijinks, some classic Community hijinks.
Hijinks ensue.
Hijinks with the, you know, breaking into the office. But I didn't really laugh a lot at the jokes. Like, a lot of the jokes didn't seem to land very well for me.
Same.
I was laughing more at the situation and, like, you know, the group being at the party or the Pop and Lockathon. Like, it's funny, but like, I don't feel like I laughed a lot at any of the lines. None of the jokes were really that funny to me. And, you know, I agree. I mean, Alan is unlikable. Obviously, he's supposed to be. And but I feel like the storyline, looking at it from just a show perspective, like, the storyline feels frustrating in terms of, I don't know. I think it's necessary for this episode just to see Jeff again in his old environment being around.
So it kind of gives you, like, maybe put you back in touch with why he's at Greendale.
Right.
If he's trying to get back to that.
And he has to deal with the guy who he finds out was the one that put him there in the first place.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think they could have done more with this. You know, I think Alan could have been a little more of a recurring character. I think he's a good kind of antagonist to Jeff because they're kind of, they
like mirror images. It's like the Belloc to the Indiana Jones.
Sort of
I'm
like
they're like of you.
Jeff is like the just the good version of Alan, like, really.
Yeah.
But he's also becoming a better person. So like Alan is the same person. Jeff used to be like Alan, and now he's becoming a better person. And I don't know. I feel like, the fact that Alan never gets to come up, and it's like Jeff is upset that, or doesn't care that he got disbarred or whatever. Like, he doesn't really believe them. And then they show him the proof, and he's like, well, I don't care. Alan's a good lawyer. It doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. It just seems like if it would have come back, because Jeff is like, heck no, I've got I've got leverage over the Jagoff who, just made partner. Like he doesn't ever get anything out of that.
Yeah, he never uses it.
And like whenever he starts his practice at the end of season 4, start of season 5, like, and then he loses, like Alan makes fun of him, like Alan's on top. Like it just, Jeff
doesn't really actually ever benefit from him knowing that. I think it would have been more interesting or a better episode if you would have found like say Annie, Abed, and Troy don't find the email or something like that. Or maybe they do find it and then like something happens where like Jeff doesn't get to read it. It's like he doesn't actually know for sure if Alan was the one.
Right.
And maybe there's just like they still kind of leave it open and ended like, was Alan the one? And it's like they could even bring Alan back and like he's still kind of friends with Jeff.
Right.
And there's still more of like this more drawn out storyline where Jeff's trying to figure out.
As long as they
Alan,
do something with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of like nothing happens after this episode with that. And
because what if Alan, like let's like flip the scenario. Like let's say Alan wants Jeff to make him partner and Jeff is like, no, I can't do that. So Alan loses his job. And then he's like, oh, by the way, Jeff, I was the one who got you disbarred. How does that feel? Like, then Jeff has to wrestle with, well, now I'm no better than he is. Because now, I did the same thing to him where he could have had this leap up, but I got his job taken away from him.
Yeah. There was really no reason for Jeff to help Alan,
No, not at all.
It didn't really make, and again, he's like, yeah, I have leverage over him now.
But he doesn't ever use it.
Like, what point you're going to get back? Ted's already told him that he wants him there. Like obviously Ted likes him. So whenever he gets his degree, he's going to probably go work.
And he doesn't even ever do any consulting stuff for that law firm.
Yeah. But what does he need leverage for? He's already respected. They know he's a good lawyer.
Right.
They don't like Alan anyway.
Yeah.
So
there's not yet.
He maybe feels like he's trying to be a good friend to Alan, but I don't know.
I will say I do like the story or like how Jeff goes about it and how he talks about like, if you want a good lawyer, hire Alan. If you want a good person, go to open a hair salon, which is again kind of a weird reference because they just had that. But talking about like his parents' divorce and like the only person I admired, respected was the lawyer leaving with the sky blue Mercedes and the nice suit. Like that makes sense for Jeff's character.
Yeah.
Like, but not to help Alan. Yeah, I get that. I get that.
Yeah, that's a good line. Like that dialogue he has with Drew Carey or with Ted. Great Jeff acting. I think
Ted, get in here, Ted.
I'd probably give it 8 out of 10, close to a 7 out of 10. All right, let's just.
Well, it's definitely a lot closer to 7 than it is 10.
Yeah, but similar to you, like good concept for jokes. Didn't laugh that much.
Not funny. Didn't laugh.
Yeah,
I feel like they could have done a lot more with the jokes. I don't know. I just. Yeah.
No, I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you.
I digress.
Or like, what if the Hat Club came back into play, and they bought everybody hats that said Alan, whatever his last name is, got Jeff Winger disbarred, and they had everybody at the party wear it? Because then that actually makes something out of the Hat Club, and then it'd be kind of a cool little like, oh, the Greendale community comes together and stands up for Jeff Winger. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Anyway, folks, that was the first episode of You Already Accepted 2.0.
Feels good to be back.
Feels good to be back. Make sure to stay tuned. Smash that like button, share, subscribe, and stay notified. And we will see you all real soon.
And check out Meaning by Christian Dixon.
Yeah.
I'm the wind.
Let's play ourselves out.